Welcome to the Scenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something that, I think pretty much everyone navigating the modern world is dealing with. Stress.
It's everywhere.
It is. And specifically, we're looking at how people try to manage it. You decide to take control, and you run straight into this massive, booming, and honestly pretty confusing market of supplements, all targeting one thing: cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Exactly. So our mission today is to cut through all that noise. We're doing a deep dive into the actual science behind these cortisol modulating supplements.
You want to know which ones have real, targeted data behind them.
And which are just hype. Plus, what are the real limitations of the research?
It's a critical question.
So just to level set, everyone knows cortisol is necessary, right?
Well,
Your adrenal glands produce it. It's key for that whole fight or flight response.
Oh, absolutely. We need that spike to perform to get through a crisis. But the problem today in our world is the chronic nature of stress.
Right. Our bodies never get that all-clear signal.
Exactly. And when stress is just perpetually high, those elevated cortisol levels start to become really damaging. We're talking about chronic anxiety, messed up sleep, and even physical breakdown.
Like muscle loss.
Specifically muscle loss. So, yeah, balancing that system is just critical.
And that pressure to find balance is why the supplement aisle is so packed. There's this huge surge of interest in, natural solutions.
It's appealing alternative to pharmaceuticals for a lot of people.
For sure. So let's start with the big hitters, the ones you see in every health store. We saw 3 names pop up over and over in our sources. First, ashwagandha.
The classic adaptogen, yeah. Known for general stress and anxiety claims.
Then there's phosphatidylserine. Bit of a mouthful.
Often marketed for both lowering cortisol and boosting cognition.
And of course, magnesium, the undisputed champion of general relaxation.
Right. And here's where we hit our first really critical insight from the research. People are seeking these for totally legitimate goals: better sleep, stress reduction, better recovery. But the irony we uncovered is that the most famous names, the ones with the most shelf space, they are generally not where the strongest, most targeted scientific evidence is pointing.
So the data is, just broad?
It's broad. Often has low certainty, or it's super contextual. It's not as clear-cut as the labels might suggest.
Okay, so if we're going to ignore the marketing for a second and just follow the gold standard data, where does that lead us? What compounds actually have convincing, measurable evidence for cortisol reduction?
Well, this is where we have to pivot to compounds tested in, robust clinical trials. And what's fascinating is that the solutions we found attack the problem in different ways.
How so?
It gives us a framework for understanding this whole thing. You have to ask, is a supplement reducing the stress signal itself? Or is it just mitigating the stress effect on the body?
Oh, that's a great distinction, the signal versus the effect.
Exactly.
Okay, let's start with the signal then, because our first case study is something I, for one, had never even heard of before, a citrus flavonoid called tangerine.
Not a household name, for sure.
Not at all. So what did the research actually show when they gave this to athletes?
So the finding here is very specific and pretty exciting. The research, which focused on athletes, showed that just 4 weeks of tangerine supplementation significantly reduced 2 key markers.
One is cortisol, I'm guessing?
Serum cortisol, yes,
Yeah.
obviously. But the second one is, I think, even more important. It reduced ACTH.
ACTH. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, so think of ACTH, that's adrenocorticotropic hormone, as the signal, the memo, sent from your brain's pituitary gland down to your adrenal glands.
Okay.
And that memo basically says, start pumping out cortisol now.
So by reducing ACTH.
By reducing ACTH, tangerine seems to be dampening the entire stress cascade right at the source. It's reducing the brain's original command.
Wow.
And that suggests a much better way of enhancing the body's entire stress response, especially for reducing recovery time after intense exercise. It's all about the signal.
That makes so much sense. It's like turning down the volume on the emergency broadcast before the alarm even really starts blaring.
That's a great way to put it.
So if that's targeting the signal, what about the other side of your framework? Mitigating the effect of stress. What was the second pathway you guys identified?
So shifting gears, that leads us to amino acids, particularly in the context of high-intensity performance. Now, this might sound a bit niche.
For athletes, yeah.
Right. But It's a perfect example of managing the physical consequence of high cortisol.
Okay, so how does it work?
Studies show that during really strenuous exercise, supplementing with amino acids can lower cortisol concentrations. But it's not necessarily stopping that ACTH signal we just talked about.
So what's it doing instead?
It's providing an alternative, readily available energy source for the body.
So instead of the body panicking and starting to break down its own muscle tissue for energy, which is what high cortisol triggers, the amino acids are right there to step in.
Precisely. The main benefit is minimizing that muscle degradation. You preserve muscle mass, you enhance performance, you recover faster. It's a targeted intervention to protect the body from the damage high cortisol causes.
Got it. Okay, so we have a clear signal reducer in tangerine and an effect mitigator in amino acids, at least for performance stress.
Right.
Let's talk about a huge general wellness category now. Probiotics. Everyone is talking about the gut-brain axis these days. What did the large-scale analysis say about their ability to actually move the needle on stress hormones?
Yeah, the sources pointed to a really substantial piece of work on this. A meta-analysis covering 46 randomized controlled trials.
That's a huge data set.
It's massive. And the conclusion was that probiotics generally lead to a modest reduction in cortisol.
Modest. That word doesn't sound like a ringing endorsement. Is that enough to justify, the cost and the effort?
That word modest is doing a lot of heavy lifting. I mean, while the finding does suggest a potential link between gut health and stress, the critical detail is the certainty level of the evidence.
What do you mean?
The evidence was categorized as low to moderate, and that implies high variability. An athlete taking one strain for 6 weeks might see a totally different result than, say, an office worker taking a different strain for 3 months.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Not at all. It just shows the heterogeneity in the outcomes and, frankly, the limits of drawing a definitive conclusion for the average person right now.
This brings us right into the critical review section, doesn't it? Looking at all these case studies, tangerine, aminos, probiotics, what advice can we really synthesize for someone listening about the strength and limitations of the science here?
The strength is definitely in the specificity. You have these robust clinical trials supporting compounds like tangerine and amino acids, but, and this is a big but, you have to remember those results are in specific contexts.
Like exercise recovery.
Exactly. If you're dealing with chronic emotional stress from your job, those results might not translate directly.
And the limitation is what we just saw with the probiotics. The evidence for these broader general use supplements, including those big names like ashwagandha we mentioned at the start, is often, well, it's just low to moderate certainty.
We need a lot more research across different populations before we can confidently recommend them for widespread general anxiety relief.
And then there's the regulatory reality check that you absolutely need to know about. While something like magnesium is generally safe, you have to remember that in the United States, the FDA does not strictly regulate dietary supplements before they hit the market.
And this creates what is essentially the Wild West of wellness.
The Wild West, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. This lack of strict regulation means that the quality, the purity, and critically the actual concentration of the active ingredients can vary wildly from brand to brand.
So you could buy 2 bottles of the same supplement from different companies.
And their impact on your body or lack of an impact could be completely different.
Okay, so based on all this targeted science and that regulatory landscape, what does this actually mean for your shopping basket? Our sources seem to distill the guidance into 3 key takeaways.
Right. First, and this is probably the most important, have realistic expectations. Your individual response is going to vary a lot. Don't expect a pill to magically fix years of chronic stress. It should be seen as just one tool, an adjunct to real lifestyle changes.
That makes sense. What's number 2?
Second, prioritize evidence-based claims. You have to look for transparent labeling. Look for reputable brands that provide third-party testing information so you know the product actually contains what it says it contains.
So don't just trust the vague promises on the bottle.
Please don't. And finally, number 3. Always, always, always consult a healthcare professional.
Before you start anything new.
Absolutely. They can check for potential interactions with medications you're already on or any underlying health conditions. That kind of personalized advice is non-negotiable.
So, to wrap up, cortisol management is clearly a central pillar of modern health. And we've seen that while the market is huge, the hard scientific evidence is often very targeted and very specific.
It's not always the most popular choice that has the best data behind it.
Right.
And that brings us right back to that framework we talked about. As you, the listener, Consider new stress solutions. Don't just ask, will this lower my cortisol?
Ask a better question.
Ask a better question. Ask, is this mechanism targeting the stress signal at the brain level, like tangerine? Or is it mitigating the negative effects of that stress on my body, like amino acids protecting my muscle?
Because understanding that mechanism, that's the real deep dive. And it empowers you to make smarter choices about how you manage stress and, where you spend your money.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scenario Podcast. Don't forget to visit scenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.